Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone. It is caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard to another Monday here at the Hard Truth Studios. And welcome into another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio. I'm Jim Coyle, joined now by our first guest, as always, on each Monday, Greg Rakestraw from the ISB Sports Network, and fresh off of a big-time Colts win. How are you, sir?
I am in far less need of hard truth spirits after this week's game than I was the week before. So, Jim, I'm doing great.
That's always, yeah, this is a win that they had to have as far as the Colts go, and they got it. Great day by Jonathan Taylor. Great day by the defense, who came up big multiple times in multiple ways, stopping several runs, stopping several series. They did a great job. It was a defense that I don't think we've seen this season.
Not even close to it. And again, let's acknowledge the Bears are very much a work in progress, like the Indianapolis Colts are. Caleb Williams suffered some of the same maladies that Anthony Richardson did yesterday. And I know the Bears have not run the football well, but the Colts were an absolute sieve the first 2 weeks. You know, a team had not given up as many yards rushing as the Colts had done in the first 2 games of a season since 1978. The way the Colts played yesterday, and without DeForest Buckner as well, without their best defensive player, that is indicative of the football team that we thought we would see this season. So while Anthony Richardson is still very much a work in progress, if this team is going to be successful, they have to A, stop the run, and B, run the football well. It's simply how they're built. And we saw both of those things happen a day ago.
Absolutely, and good to see them get off and to be able to do that, give them some confidence as they go forward now, and offensively as well. Like Jonathan Taylor, the great touchdown run in which he looked like a college senior, fresh as a daisy. Those legs strong, and he just popped through the line and got to the sideline, and away he went.
That he did. And I would tell you, you know, he looked like that the week before, too. He just wasn't used as much in the fourth quarter as he should have been. You know, against the Packers, he runs the ball 12 times. 23 was his number of carries yesterday. And while you can worry about long-term, you know, what that's going to look like at the end of the season, the Colts don't have the luxury of thinking long-term right now. Right now, the best way for them to win is a heavy dose of Jonathan Taylor, trying to accentuate the playmaking of Anthony Richardson and trying to somehow find a way to cut back on the mistakes of Anthony Richardson. So JT left, JT right, JT all day. That needs to be the mindset of Shane Steichen and the Colts heading into the Steelers game next Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, and it certainly gives Anthony Richardson a little buffer as far as making sure he's doing everything right. And with the offense, the more successful the offense period is, the more confidence that hopefully he'll get from that.
You would hope so. I mean, Jim, I'll be honest, you know, we saw such a small sample size from him last year. I would say I think he's regressed a little bit. And this is not me, you know, bashing him long-term or saying the Colts going to make a move. No, you simply kind of have to go through these things. I think a lot of us had hoped that maybe some of the quote-unquote rookie mistakes would be minimized because while he didn't play that much last year, you know, he was in team meetings. He did go through the preseason. He did appear in the course of 5 different games. But you know what? You just have to go through it. And by no means am I comparing Anthony Richardson to Peyton Manning, but let me remind people 26 years ago in Peyton Manning's rookie season, he threw for 28 interceptions in 16 games. Even the good quarterbacks usually go through something like that. So you just kind of got to deal with it right now. And again, perhaps tailor the playbook around trying to make the game as easy and as simple as possible for a talented but obviously young quarterback.
Yeah, because something that always comes to my mind, and this is not a knock on AR, but it brings the question as to whether or not the Colts should have drafted him because of the one question: how many games has he even started at quarterback, going back through his early pro career in college? It's not a lot,
right? And I understand it, and again. And I get what the Colts love about the kid. For a personality standpoint, he is wonderful. He is beloved in the locker room. The athletic gifts he has are remarkable. What he can do at his size, there are few, if any, that have done it. And again, even in the midst of a couple of passes that interceptions that were bad and shouldn't have been made, and simply missing open throws. Again, the deep ball he threw to Pierce yesterday was tremendous. It's almost like a basketball player that can make threes and can't make a layup. That seemingly is what it is right now.
Except for the making the threes part.
Right. I mean, and he's making the threes. He's missing the layups. That's the part that he's dealing with. But you also understand. You go back, 2 years. The Colts had kicked the can down the road for years on drafting a new quarterback after Andrew Luck walked away. And so finally, after things cratered in 22, they felt they had to make a move. And let's just go down the depth chart, all right? Number one was Bryce Young. That clearly hasn't worked. Will it work long-term someplace else? Who knows? C.J. Stroud, that worked. Okay, the next guy off the board was Anthony Richardson. The next guy off the board was Will Levis, and Will Levis has had some similar stats to what Anthony Richardson has had. So it's just it's kind of the I wouldn't say the hand the Colts were dealt, but they knew, I think, there would be some question marks and some growing pains. And frankly, they thought they'd go through them last year when expectations were a bit lower. He gets hurt, Minshew comes in, they win 9 games. All of a sudden, here comes expectations right back up again. And to be blunt, part of this too accentuates a couple of things. A, Colts fans having to go through a young quarterback kind of maturation process in a long time. Oh, and that Luck kid that walked away after 7 years, he was really freaking good as a rookie in 2012 because they won 11 games. We've been spoiled not having to go through that here in Indianapolis.
That's a great way to put it, man. And no better way to put it. Now they have to step up, even though they have another home game coming up. But it is against the Steelers, who have been looking kind of good, surprisingly better than expected this season.
Yeah, the Steelers have been great on defense. They've been average on offense, but that's been good enough. The Colts in back-to-back weeks have held teams to 16 points. The Steelers have been holding teams to fewer than that. And so, this is a game straight out of 1978. Might be the first one of 17 that wins. And if you kind of look around the National Football League, man, that is the trend more than the other way around. I think there has been one quarterback that has thrown for the combination of 300 yards and 300 touchdowns in a game so far this year. I think it might have been Andy Dalton yesterday.
Let me guess.
That's insane to think about that over the first 3 weeks of the season.
Was it Shohei Ohtani?
Ohtani might be the best quarterback in the National Football League right now, Jim. That's a very good point.
He could very well be if he tried. But the great thing about the Colts, they have the Steelers coming in at home. If they can get that win, get back to the Mendoza line of 500, they've got back-to-back games in which they can win. Of course, going down to Jacksonville has just been a bugaboo for Indy for some reason. But they have a game with the Jags after playing the Steelers, and then the Titans, which that could let them get a couple of wins going in a row.
Jim, that is true. But to be honest with you, I'm not sure this team has the luxury / ability to enjoy long-term planning right now. Yeah. This is very much a week-to-week operation. This week was a W. The Steelers are going to be a tough task. My thoughts, as I'm sure the players and coaches are, all focuses on Pittsburgh coming up this Sunday.
As it should be, as it always should be, especially in the game of football, because these games are so they're weekly. It's not like any other sport where you're playing the next night or in a couple of nights. It is a all hands on deck. Every coach is the same way in football. It's week by week, game by game, because it takes so much focus, because there's so many different things to focus on. What about the Steelers? Obviously, their defense has been better than their offense, but what do the Colts have to do this next weekend to continue this win? Well, continue where they've got one,
Cut
but
down,
put it back on.
right. Cut down turnovers. Stop giving the ball to the other team. Just because, again, I think both teams will go into this game going, hey, make the other team beat you. Don't be complicit in your own demise. Given how the Steelers have played, if you give them short fields, they will pounce and take advantage of it. So a game with 2 or 3 interceptions for Anthony Richardson, it cannot happen. You may see a lot of cheers by Colts and Steelers fans if they go 3 and out and punt the football and don't turn it over. And so that's got to be job one for the Colts, is simply cut down on giving the football away.
Absolutely. What is up next for you, brother?
So for me, high school football wise, I've got Lawrence North and Ben Davis. That could be a big game for the MIC championship. LN is 5-0 for the first time since 1989. Now, frankly, they have kind of feasted on kind of the back end of some competition. That takes a notable uptick the next couple of weeks with Ben Davis and Warren Central. But if LN wins those games, they will likely clinch a share of the MIC championship for the first time in school history. That league has been around since 1996. So that's my Friday night gig. Saturday, I'm doing a doubleheader of football, e-football. I'll head to Terre Haute for Indiana State and Houston Christian. The folks in Terre Haute are nice to have me over a few times here to do some ESPN Plus games for them. This will be one of them. Then I've got Indy 11 on Saturday night playing host to Miami FC. And then it's Colts and Steelers on Sunday. So, Jim, just a typical weekend for me where I have 4 different types of games in a span of about 48 hours, just the way I like it.
I understand. Any big things happening, any shockers this past Friday night in high school football?
Well, the game that I had certainly got your attention, and that was Brebeuf beating Carmel. You know, that was a one-time match between those two teams.
Whoa!
Exactly. They had not played in 44 years. Carmel had approached Brebeuf about playing. Carmel's looking for an opponent. Brebeuf said, yes, we'll sign a 1-year deal because this is a senior-laden Brebeuf team led by quarterback Maverick Geske. His dad, Matt, is the head coach. Maverick is likely an FCS Ivy League D2 level player, be a very good small to low major college quarterback. Brebeuf gets the stunning upset. Brebeuf had scored 69 points the week before. They had scored 56 the week before that. I knew they would score some points on Carmel. The question would be, could their defense hold up? They held Carmel to 1 touchdown in the second half. And so Brebeuf got a huge win. 4A is absolutely loaded in the Indianapolis area. Chittard, New Pal, Brebeuf, Greenfield Central, Martinsville are all really good teams. And so that tournament path is going to be a sight to see come October and November. And frankly, Ben Davis and Warren, even though Ben Davis is down this year, Ben Davis took Warren to overtime, to double overtime, in fact, before Warren won. It was the first time that Warren had given up a point all season long, but they maintain and they stay 5-0. So it was a Friday night that was affected by weather, lots of storm delays and a handful of games that didn't finish until Saturday, but it was a lot of close games, which you kind of expect once you get to the midway point of the season.
Man, that is a good shocker there. Some good stuff. Greg, I cannot thank you enough as always, man. Look forward to next Monday, and I hope you have a great rest of your week.
You do need to say, my friend. We'll talk next Monday.
Thank you very much. That's Greg Rakestraw from the Indiana Sports Network. Make sure you give him a follow and stay up to date on all that he's got going on. Lots of covers of the Colts and high schools around the state of Indiana. Up next, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer. He'll join us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio live from the Hard Truth Studios on this Hard Truth Monday. We're back with it right after this. Indiana Sports Beat Radio is brought to you by the fine folks at the Hard Truth Distilling Company, including Big Woods Restaurants and Quaffon Beers. You can find their great products in your area. If not, ask for Hard Truth. Their great products like their Hard Road Rye, Sweet Mash Bourbon, or the Toasted Coconut Rum. Ask for the Hard Truth. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big-screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order. This segment is brought to you by the Rusty Gator in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm. Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday, and that means the great one, Don Fischer, joins us, the voice of the Hoosiers. Don, how are you, sir?
Good. I'm doing good, Jim. How are you?
Doing fine. I was just trying to write some names down to think. Since you began covering or being the voice of the Hoosiers, how many different football coaches, and I know you can probably fire it out like that, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I've got 9, and I think I'm missing somebody.
Well, I can start with Lee Corso, who was there for 10.
Yeah,
Sam
I got
White,
that one.
Sam
I got
White,
that right.
Bill Mowry.
Got that right.
Cam Cameron.
Got that one.
All right, Cam Cameron, Jerry DiNardo.
I got that one.
As soon as Jerry left, it was Terry Hepner.
I've got Hep. And then Tom Allen.
No. Bill Lynch.
Or Lynch. Yeah, I've got that
Bill
one
Lynch,
down.
Kevin Wilson.
Wilson. I've got Wilson.
Yeah. And then who? Come on.
Oh, then Tom Allen. Of course. And now Signetti. So is that
Correct.
not, did I come up with?
That's 9. That's correct.
9 coaches you've been through, and you just called your first 4-game winning streak to a coach's career, so you get some of that credit instead of it all
four-game
big.
4-game winning streak for the first year.
Yes, to begin their tenure.
Start. Correct.
Begin their tenure, which that's one of the things for all the people that keep saying, well, all right, I'll believe it when I see it, and this, that. I'm like, okay, hold on. So they break a scoring record that was 123 years old. They set a record that wasn't even set. So however many years Indiana's been playing football, they're doing things that has never been done. So in my opinion, if people cannot see and understand that this is a completely and totally different Indiana football program, they're missing the boat.
Well, I can't argue with that in any way, shape, or form. There's no question about that. Here's what I will say, and you know that I'm pretty critical of our fan base in regard to how they don't stick around for ball games past halftime. And I'm not saying that's the normal fans, because we have a base of about 20,000 fans that show up for every ball game and will be there hook or crook and stay for the entire contest, generally speaking. But we have not had a fan base, our student body, that will stay for much past halftime if the ball game is not going the way they think it should be going, or if they're blowing somebody out, they still don't stay for that either. So my biggest issue, and I understand, here's what I do understand about our fans. A lot of these fans have gone through many, many years of negative thinking about this Indiana football program because of games that were expected to be a game that Indiana could win and maybe set something new or make a statement. And those statement games have gone by the wayside more often than they've ever been completed.
Absolutely.
So there's no question that there's some doubt about football at Indiana University. This particular group, however, has proven already, in my opinion, that they deserve that fan base to show up on Saturday, to be there for the game, to help them develop that energy throughout the contest that you need. And honestly, if you like football even if you just like it casually, this is a great football team to watch. They are so much fun. They're averaging over 50 points a ball game. They're averaging almost 500 yards a contest of offense. So if you like offense, you're going to see it with this ball club. And on top of that, they play really hard on the defensive side of the football. That fast, physical, relentless, all those kinds of terms that they use for that defense are all there to see. It is so much fun to watch this ball club. And we haven't seen anything like this in a long time. And that's not putting anybody else down. It's just a fact. The reality is this football team has proven with its first 4 ball games. Granted, the competition hasn't been stellar. UCLA was a good football team, gave LSU a tough game in Baton Rouge on Saturday for a half.
Yes, they did.
17-17 at halftime. So UCLA was no pushover, and you travel out there to Los Angeles and the trip and all those kinds of things play a part in this, how you're thinking. But this ball club has proven no matter who they faced, they are capable. And I think that's going to continue for the rest of this football season. And now you need the fans to show up on a consistent basis, be there to help generate the excitement and the energy in the building that you need to help this football team be successful.
I could not have said any of that any better, Don. Of course, why would anyone do anything better than you do it? But that is exactly the truth. I mean, that is the truth. And that's the same way I'm approaching it. For anybody, when I say something and people say, yeah, but I'm like, dude, I deal in facts. I'm looking at numbers. I know what the history is. I went to college when Bill Mallory was the coach. I know what happened before and what has happened in between, but I also can see and feel the difference in this how the program is being run, how they're performing. And that has just been a blast to watch. Even from my perspective in the media, it's a hell of a lot more fun to cover a winner. Let me tell you, it's everything is better. The fans enjoy it more, but I agree with you on the fact that if you just enjoy getting out, either whether it's supporting Indiana or just watching some fun football, let me tell you, as you mentioned a lot of great stats, this team has scored on 28 of their 39 drives this entire season. They score points every time they get the ball, and it's through the air, it's on the ground. It's so many things that makes this team dangerous, and that is what is going to make this team fun. And their defense is giving up less than 10 points a game, Don, and 1.4 per game in the second half. That is incredible.
Well, here's another incredible statistic. When's the last time you saw an Indiana football team go 4 games without a turnover?
Never. not in my lifetime.
And some of their best football teams over the years have turned the ball over at least once or twice during the first 4 games of the season. I'm not sitting here saying that Indiana is never going to turn the ball over, but they haven't up to this point. And they haven't had, and as Kurt Cignetti said, we haven't had a stellar schedule at this juncture, but they have proven against everybody that they've played that they can dominate them. And now you're about to face the toughest part of the schedule. A Maryland team coming in here that is 3-1. They are a good football program. What struck me going through their roster yesterday was the fact that they have almost veteran players at Maryland, not portal players. We're talking about veterans that have been on their campus for the last 3 or 4 years now. Almost 90% or 95% of their team is a team that Mike Locksley recruited. Their defense is better than it has been, without question. That's probably been maybe their Achilles heel a little bit over the years. But the other thing you know about Maryland is they always have tremendous athletes, because that's what Locksley goes for. He goes after kids that are really fast and athletic and can get up and down the field. They will be a fast team. They have a quarterback, Billy Edwards, who has really been playing tremendous football. I think he had just 4 incomplete passes this past weekend, just like Curtis Rourke did. And they were able to dominate Villanova, a decent FCS football club. So without question, this is going to be a challenge. And honestly, I think right now, the biggest question mark is, can Indiana continue to succeed with success? Because look at the Indiana teams in the past that have had success outside of the season, and the first big game that they play, they lay an egg. They fall flat in their face. That's happened many times over the years, and I understand that from a crowd perspective, that's one of the disappointments of Indiana football. This team, I don't think, has let that happen. UCLA is a perfect example of it. Even though UCLA is at superstar status, they are a good football program. They have great athletes, and Indiana played them off their feet. So all I can tell you is get there, tailgate, have fun, and watch this football team compete, because it's fun to watch them compete.
Absolutely. I agree with you. Again, Ken could not have said it any better. The people that are going are having fun, but they're also enjoying watching some quality football for probably maybe for the first time in not their lifetime, because they've had good teams here, but this is a solid program. The program has undergone a major change, not just a season, a year season. So we'll see with how that goes on. Indiana also had, I know you're not on the recruiting side, Don, but it was a big, important weekend for Indiana men's basketball, as Trent Sisley, Braylon Mullins, and Eric Ribe were in for visits. Trent Sisley has gone to Montverde for his senior year. Of course, Braylon Mullins still playing high school basketball here in Indiana, and then Eric Ribe, a 7-footer from outside of out of state. But a very important weekend for IU's basketball program, as those are 3 priority recruits that they'd sure like to have on the roster.
Well, and if you get them, you're not having to go to the portal either. That's always important, and gives you a base. It gives you a base of players to build on for the future. So obviously, we wish that those guys would all come, and hopefully they will at some point make a decision to come to Indiana University. Recruiting is such a critical factor these days, but not just for high school players. It's the portal. Everything that's involved is so much. It's changed dramatically over the last 3 or 4 years now, and the portal becomes a big factor. But if you can get a base of players that come and set the tone for your program, and build off of those players. That's a big key. And think about what Indiana did this year in the portal. Obviously, they've got some really good players out of the portal, maybe the best class that almost one of the best, well, one of the top two classes, I guess, in the country that's rated that way anyway. And I don't go a lot on ratings and things like that, but at the same time, you can see these guys are quality athletes and quality basketball players. So it'll be fun. I think the football and the basketball seasons this year are things that Indiana fans can really get excited about.
Yeah, and you add the women's basketball in there as well, and you could have three of the big-time programs being ranked. Probably all three of them this year are going to be ranked because it's just a matter of time for Indiana. Football, the men's basketball program will probably start in the top 15. The women's, obviously, are usually a top 10 team. So what a great year for Indiana fans coming up. It looks like it could be.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. There's a lot to be excited about at Indiana University right now, and no more so than what this football team has been able to do on the field.
Absolutely, and fans should be excited about it. They're 2 games away from being bowl eligible, Don, and we're only 4 games in. That is something that is just I think it gives the football team even more confidence to do more things and to become even better than they are right now.
Well, it's all we know at this juncture is you're going into the biggest and most important part of this football season, starting this Saturday, and the Maryland Terrapins are the first opponent, and I'm so excited about seeing this contest. I think, and Indiana's got the opportunity to play them at home, and that is big in itself. And then they go to Northwestern, and then they come back, and I think they got a bye week, and then they play a Nebraska team that has proven that they are dramatically improved over the last 2 years.
Yeah, there is a bye after Northwestern, and then they come back and have 2 home games after that. So It could be and as a matter of fact, that could and should start a tremendous stretch in which Indiana plays Nebraska, Washington, Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State, then Purdue. Those are 6 straight games that should draw the attention of every fan out there.
Yep, it's going to be fun. There's no doubt about it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Don Fischer, the voice of the Hoosiers. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you greatly.
Thanks for having me, Jim. We'll talk to you soon.
You betcha. There it is, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fischer, joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. More to come up. Dustin Dopirak will join us later, and plenty more to get to. We're back with more from the Hard Truth Studios on this Hard Truth Monday, right after this.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering, serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas. Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling Company and Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio here on this Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. Trying to pull up the college pick'ems from over the weekend and see how everybody did, see how I did. I didn't get my first two picks in. It didn't register, I guess, because I didn't include the tiebreaker for some reason, and then had to go back and do it. So hope everyone's doing well. We'll see if I can pull it up here real quick. I did make I did storm back a little bit the week before, but we'll have to see how I did in week 4, after week 4 of the college football season. There we go, college pick'em. I did notice there are some peeps that are way out in front, as I have gotten to 22-16 overall now, which is it's just a great comeback from the first week. I didn't even get anything in off of this one, I think, but let's see. Let's go back to week 4, and it looks like it didn't count them again. I don't know, or maybe it did. No, the first 2 didn't count. All right, so I got one right. I had the Louisville covering over Georgia Tech. I had Northern Illinois over the Buffalo. I missed that one. I missed LSU and UCLA as the Bruins. What a surprise that game was. UCLA, who Indiana just absolutely throttled at the Rose Bowl and held them to 13 points, the 13 points total. LSU goes down and scores 17 and holds LSU to 17 in the first half. They're tied. They were tied in Death Valley in front of all those people. So use that to look at what Indiana is doing. And so now, and LSU was ranked 16th, but Indiana is a little bit better than they're being given consideration for right now. But a hell of a game by UCLA. Miami, I had them correct over South Florida as they win 50-15. I had Tennessee over Oklahoma as they go into Boomer Sooner land and win that game 25-15. Tennessee, one of the top teams in the country. I picked Ole Miss. They go on to beat Georgia Southern 52-13. And I got Texas right, giving up 45.5 points. I missed on Kansas State as they were number 13. Kansas State was a 7.5 point favorite at Brigham Young. They got hammered 38-9. I mean, wow. You're a 7.5 point favorite and you get beat by nearly 30. That's an eye opener. Hello, mama. But Indiana rolling. The AP poll, let's see. I think the AP poll's out again already. Let me get back to where we were. But, yeah, go to the college football
How did you do? How's everybody else doing this week in the ESPN college pick'ems? Let's see who's leading that as the group. I want to show my group. I want to see who's winning that thing. Boom. I some of these records are unbelievable. You guys are doing tremendous, but yeah, not me. I'm actually 11th. That's not bad because on mine there are missed games. Yesterday I missed 2 games, 22-16 overall. But the leader, number 1, James B. Zabow, 28-12 on the year. Now these are with the spread, people, so it makes it more difficult. But that's not bad. Brian, you're doing good. You're sitting right there, right behind him, 2 games. Then Jim F is right there. Derek, you're right there very well. So Ethan up there again as well. So lots of Buffalo Bill up in there as well. But you guys are doing good. We're only into we've got week 5 coming up. Can you believe that? We'll be 5 weeks into the college football season as we approach it this weekend. Indiana taking on a Maryland team. And again, their schedule has been set up so perfectly, and not just for the games, but it has been set up perfectly because they will play 6 consecutive games without having a bye week. That's what you want. You don't want to bye in weeks 1 or 2. That is the biggest waste of a bye week, in my opinion. But so Indiana will go 6 games before having a bye week. That means they're going to have 2 bye weeks on the back half of their season. Hugely important. When are you going to be? When are you most likely going to be beaten up? Hurt, little ticky-tack injuries. The back half of the season. So Indiana will have 2 separate weeks in the final 6 games to kind of mend their ways. And when is that first break? Not until after the Northwestern game, right? So it looks like it's in between. So after Northwestern, they have their first bye. So not only will Indiana have their first bye at that time, I am and have since the beginning of the season predicted they will be 6-0. I've talked about the path to 6-0 since before this season started, and I am not only am I not off of that, I'm putting the gas down. I'm putting the pedal down more. Not only is there a path to 6-0, now there is a direct path to an 8-0 start for this Indiana team. Now, does that mean that's going to happen? Of course not. There are things that can happen along the way. Injuries. They've got to stay healthy. Indiana is probably, besides Northwestern coming up, probably have the least depth of those teams, minus, say Purdue or something. But they're going to be 6-0 when they get their bye. They'll be bowl eligible. With 6 games remaining on their schedule, all of those games, save for the Ohio State, do I see as a potential win for Indiana. Nebraska is going to be tough. I don't care that they lost to Illinois. It doesn't matter. They're still a good team. They still have good defense. They still have a quarterback that is extraordinarily talented. I don't care that he's a true freshman. He is learning, and by the time Indiana and Nebraska tangle, he'll have 6 games under his belt. Fred pointing out Indiana is number 7 in the AP poll this week. I assumed it would take one more week for Indiana to reach the top 25, which shows you that the pundits are still like, we'll see, which is, it doesn't it doesn't affect me, but from a polling standpoint, they're better than many of the teams that are in front of them. I have LSU, perfect example. LSU has UCLA at home. What do they manage at the half? A 17-17 tie with the team that Indiana beat this to smithereens the week before at the Rose Bowl. So, but that's just life, and that's how that's going to go. Indiana will have all the chances in the world to if they defeat Maryland, they'll be ranked in the top 25. Then if they beat Northwestern, they'll go up a little more. Then they'll get the chance to play a Nebraska and a Washington team to move up. And then it'll take care of itself. But then that's the time of year that the college football playoff polls start coming out. That is going to be interesting to see how those guys view this program and this team at that time. That's why it is imperative that Indiana, to me, starts 8-0, because that will solidify their legitimacy to the college football playoff pollsters. And then if you have a loss to, say, Michigan, even maybe possibly at Michigan State, depending on what they do the rest of the way, and especially Ohio State, it hurts less. I don't think anything less than 11-1, Indiana will not have a shot at anything less than 11-1, Indiana does not have a shot at the college football playoffs. 10-2, not going to get Indiana in, I don't think. 10-2 would get Michigan in. It'll get some other teams in, but it won't get Indiana in just because of what's across the chest, in my humble opinion. But an 11-1 Indiana team is going to be virtually impossible to keep out of the college football playoffs, in my opinion. If you beat everybody that you play in the Big Ten Conference, it might save one of the teams that is picked to win the national championship. I don't know how you keep them out. And while a lot of people say, oh, hold on. No, I don't have to hold on. I get to do whatever I want. I get to talk about however I want to talk about it. And because it's more fun. And I think IU fans, that's the one thing I'm not getting on fans. I'm just telling them, why not enjoy the ride? What are you doing? You just go, oh, no, I can't celebrate yet. I can't celebrate it. I can't. Why? Why not? Enjoy the stinking ride, people. They're 4-0. Enjoy it now. Enjoy every win. Savor it. Why not enjoy it? Why are you waiting for the fall off? Don't. Enjoy it now. Enjoy it as it happens. Because if you wait to enjoy it until the end, you've missed all of those opportunities. Why? Hell with it. Enjoy it, people. That is the hard truth. Brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company, of course, located right in the heart of beautiful Brown County, Indiana. And what a beautiful time of year it is. Woo, man. But located over in Nashville, they're a Hard Truth Distilling Company, where you can find all of their incredibly great products, starting from their Sweet Match Rye bourbons, the Hard Road Ryes, all kinds of whiskeys that they are award-winning. These are internationally award-winning spirits that the Hard Truth has. Toasted coconut rum, cinnamon vodka. But they have a great restaurant. That entire facility is amazing. So make sure you stop by there. Yes, Brian, Tennessee is not only fast, Tennessee is good. So there are some very, very good teams. Very good college teams. And looking forward to seeing, as this season progresses, who in the Big Ten. USC had that Michigan. Michigan gets a gigantic win this weekend as they knock off USC at home. USC had that game won. And they give up the big run toward the end of the game, allowing Michigan to get down into scoring position, and Michigan does what they need to do, getting across the goal line to score the touchdown. But man, that changes things hugely for me. And if you go, I put out my Big Ten Power Index each week through the Hoosier.com, which that'll be coming out again. I may have to get on that earlier this week because there have been a lot of changes. Now, Michigan is going to move up. USC is going to move down. Illinois moves up. You want to talk about a huge win? Illinois going to Nebraska, getting that win in overtime. That is big. It would have been better for Indiana if Nebraska wins that game, but Michigan beating UCLA or USC, that's okay. It gives Indiana an opportunity. If they can beat Michigan, now you've got that win instead. So it's a lot of moving, a lot of ins and outs, a lot of facets to the situation. Big Lebowski. But Indiana would get plenty of opportunities to show how good they are in this back half of the season. Because let's be honest, they've had a schedule that has been friendly to them so far. Even if UCLA is better than what they appear, they caught them at the right time. Then you caught a Charlotte team that is a good last tune-up. Now Indiana takes on a Maryland team that has had some ups and downs, and they're going to get better as the season progresses, without question. Northwestern, that's, even though it's a road game, that should be an easy win for Indiana. Northwestern went out to Washington this weekend, and they were handled pretty easily. Northwestern is down there with Purdue. Purdue went on the road to Oregon State and lost to the Beavers. May have been, I don't have Purdue's schedule pulled up, but other than Purdue and if Purdue and Northwestern play, that will be the deciding factor for who is last in the Big Ten this season. Right now, there's no question in my mind that Northwestern and Purdue are the bottom two of the conference. UCLA moves out of the cellar with their performance at LSU. Doesn't mean they're great, but they're not in the cellar, in my opinion, like Purdue and Northwestern is. Fortunately for Indiana, if you look at the three worst teams in the Big Ten, in my opinion, Purdue, Northwestern, and UCLA, Indiana's fortunate they get to play all three of them. So that helps. You add that to the three non-con games. That's 6 wins right there. Bowl eligibility. So there's no way this team's not bowl eligible this year. For those of you that still are on the fence about that, I don't think it's going to be close as to bowl eligibility. They're going to be bowl eligible after their first 6 games, in my opinion, as I've said all year long. But we shall see. We've got lots more coming up. Dustin Dopirak will join us in the next hour as we'll continue to talk about the season. We've got Indiana basketball, as I mentioned, had a big-time weekend of visitors. We'll talk about that and much more from the Hard Truth Studios on this Hard Truth Monday. We'll be back with more right after this.
Segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. The Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more detail. Segment is brought to you by the Ugly Grouper.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Studios on a Hard Truth Monday. Appreciate you being with us. Indiana Sports Beat Radio, Jim Coyle with you as always, and a fun weekend of sports activities as the college football season is bringing us more action and more surprises. I tried to watch as much football Saturday evening as possible, but hard to do. We had with Indiana having a noon game, and I'll tell you what, a lot of their games are going to be noon games going forward. I think the Maryland game is already set for noon. Nebraska, the home game, will also be at noon and not on Fox's big noon kickoff, simply because of the loss of Nebraska to Illinois. The Hoosiers will welcome in Washington. I think that when Michigan comes, I think that will be a Fox big noon kickoff because of Indiana's record at that time and the fact that it's Michigan. So that's going to be, and if Indiana were to happen to win that, then we would see maybe again the following week. But Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star, how was your weekend, sir?
Very good, Jim. How about yours?
I cannot complain. It was not that bad. Just out covering some sports, watching some sports, and the usual. But a good weekend for all of that. What did you manage to get into?
What did I get into? Went to a concert last night, Dashboard Confessional, because I'm a elder emo kid, and that was fun. But no, yesterday just took in Colts, got most of the Fever game. Got a good sense of that. Watched one more Paul Skeens start. We'll see. I don't know if he's going to pitch one more before the end of the season. But had all that going on Sunday. Got a good bit of the IU game on Saturday. So checked a lot of that stuff out. So interesting week, obviously, for everybody. Obviously, Colts finally got on the board. Fever looking like it's going to be a difficult series. Basically, you'd obviously see Connecticut has that experience, and that makes a difference. But lot of interesting stuff on the indie front this weekend, I thought.
Absolutely. A Fever playing the Connecticut Sun in the first round of the playoffs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That is where I believe that Caitlin Clark started her professional career, and it was not pretty, but
right.
She's a completely different player now, as she has become the WNBA's all-time single-season assist leader, and of course, one of only 4 players, I think, that is a rookie. As a rookie, led her team in scoring and assists. So she is not the player she was then, or she is. She's just a much more smarter and experienced player. And so but still, playing Connecticut is not going to be an easy chore.
Sure. No, I mean, a lot of growth, obviously, from her, just a huge amount of growth. It's, just going through everything this season. Obviously, they just put her through the ringer in the first, really month of the year. And I think, as we mentioned before, I think the Olympic break was great for her. I think she needed that space, basically, after just having gone straight from, going to the national title game and then, basically going straight from that to the draft and the camp and everything, and just sort of having everything so front loaded. I think she's just been a different player since then. But she's finding, like we talked a lot about when the Pacers got in, about how playoff basketball is different and how it's something you're not necessarily. That it's a different style of game. The intensity is a lot more, and they can key on you in a different way. Obviously, everybody knows Caitlin Clark is coming and whatnot, but you're able to sort of focus your efforts a different way. Basically, when you get into playoff basketball, you get some time to spend on somebody. You get a few games in a row on the same player, and so they did a really good job of keying on her yesterday. DeWanna Bonner, veteran, excellent player, just did a really good job. Just coming at her with length, basically. So she had a rough, she had a very rough afternoon. That's you don't expect that to be the same going forward. You imagine she's going to adjust. But she was 4 of 17 from the floor, 2 of 13 from 3, still had 8 assists against 2 turnovers. I mean, she was pretty effective, but just wasn't getting the shots to go down yesterday. I think a lot of that was just because she was dealing with a lot of length there. But again, that's the type of stuff that, again, you deal with on a playoff level when, everyone's like, okay, well, how do we get this? Your first thing you got to think of is, okay, how do you get Caitlin Clark out of her rhythm? If you're Connecticut, you have to you put all assets into that, and you're willing to get beat by somebody else if you just, you're just trying to take your best player away. You're trying to take your best stuff away. And, that's what they do to you. And obviously Tyrese Halliburton saw some of the same stuff when it came to the playoffs for him. And he had a rough, beginning, especially against Milwaukee. So, we'll see how that translates. I don't think they play again until Wednesday. So she's got obviously some time to, sit with what they did, basically just kind of really get used to the idea of the length that she's going to see if Bonner is going to continue to defend her, and just prepare herself from that, and she'll have a chance to be a lot better on Wednesday.
Yeah, this is not about this season as much it is about next season and beyond, because this, as we know and talk about, it's a young team.
Sure.
Clark is a rookie. Elia Boston is a second-year player. This is about next year as these guys grow together and get better. And if you look at from the beginning till now at the growth, it's amazing. So you can imagine what it is going to be like as they go forward.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, the growth is incredible. Would they start 1-7? I think it was. I'm going to look back at their roster to remind myself. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, they were 1-8. They were 1-8. They were 2-9. They were 3-10. And basically went from there, won 4 in a row in the middle of June, and that's kind of when they sort of you saw just a drastic shift in who they became. And so the growth is amazing. To finish 20-20 when you started 1-8 is wild. I mean, that's crazy, to have that kind of finish. And so obviously they just really became a different team. You saw just so many players, not just Caitlin. Caitlin was a big part of it, but, you saw everybody advance. I mean, I've just been impressed in Boston, just adding a lot of range, basically. I think she's been much more comfortable shooting mid-range jump shots and even threes to some extent. But it adds a lot in what you could do, basically. I mean, if you can be a pick and roll partner, for Caitlin Clark, and you have options out of a short roll or out of a pop versus a roll, to the bucket, and when you're not shooting everything from within 3 feet, you become a heck of a lot more of a dangerous player. And you see that. I mean, there's growth in so many people who figured out, how do I play off of Caitlin Clark? How do I make the most of myself? And I think even veterans you've seen grow a whole lot. I think Lexi Hall's had a great season for her. Kelsey Mitchell had to figure out, obviously, how does she play off a player with the kind of gravity that Clark has, and she's been tremendous. So there's been a ton of that. And yeah, like you said, I mean, you get into this. And I said the same thing about the Pacers, and it's different. I mean, the Pacers are further along from an age perspective, but I said that they just have to get in. They just have, even if they get dusted in the first round, they had to get just the most out of, what does this feel like? What does this look like? Any playoff experience they got, I think, was going to be enough for them. And obviously, they made the Eastern Conference Finals, and it's a shorter format. I mean, it's best of 3 in the first round, for the Fever, but basically just the feel of playoff basketball, the fact that Caitlin Clark gets to experience that in her first year, and Aaliyah Boston gets to experience that her second, is a huge deal, especially because they hadn't been there since 2016, since the end of Tamika Catchings era. So this is going to be huge for them to build off. You want to be as competitive as you can, to make sure you're putting yourself in tough scenarios. You don't want to get totally crushed, and so they don't want to lose another one like they did and have it look like it did on Monday. But if you're them, you just want to get the most of it, whatever it is. So it's all valuable, to your point. This is a team that's going to be around for a while. It's going to have a lot to build off of. It's going to enter next season in a totally different space than it's ever entered, than it's entered a season in years. So it's a big, I mean, whatever they get out of this is a big deal for them.
Absolutely. And I saw that Grace Berger even got some, not only did she get some PT, I forget which game this was, just a few games back, she had a chance, the ball in her hands, and a chance to win the game and come up short on an elbow jumper in that particular ball game. So she's still there.
She is. There's a lot of. I saw some Free Grace T-shirts earlier in the year. I mean, I'm just looking at this now. I think she played 12 minutes against the Mystics in the last game, and this was obviously when they'd already wrapped things up. They were going to be a playoff team. They knew where they were going to be seated. Kelsey Mitchell only played 5 minutes in that game. Caitlin Clark played 20, so they got 12 for Grace. She was 1 of 3 from the floor in that game, 3 rebounds, and assist and a steal. It was plus 15 on the floor though, so you'll take that. Obviously, she's still an effective player. It's really tough. Obviously, it's extremely tough to get on the floor in this league overall. The WNBA is just not easy. Feel like Grace should have got more opportunities last year. It's still going to be tough for her to break through and get a lot of minutes right now because, not only have Caitlin and Kelsey starting in the backcourt, you also, again, Lexi Hall, I think, is one of their best defenders, is probably their best perimeter defender. So you need to have her on the floor, to start the game. And then, basically off the bench, obviously you've got a veteran, Erica Wheeler, as the starting, as the backup point guard. Christy Wallace, also an excellent defensive player. So it's tough to get on the floor when you've got 5 guards ahead of you. So there's not going to be a whole lot of easy path. And again, you have 5 guards ahead of you. 2 are all league caliber players. Another one, again, is a veteran, your best defender. And, Erica Wheeler is as talented as a backup point guard as there is in the league. I mean, she was all-star MVP I think it was 2019, I want to say. So, I mean, she's, you're starting to see her fade a little bit as she ages, but she's tough as I'll get out and exactly the type of player that you like to have as a backup point guard. Again, Christy Wallace is a veteran too. So there's just not an easy path for Grace Berger to get on the floor. I mean, any minute she gets in the playoffs is great. If she can get any kind of time, it's not going to be easy. So she's had some tough breaks. And again, a lot of it is they've just brought in a lot of perimeter talent, and it's not easy to break through there.
A lot of people on the chat line talking about the expansion draft coming and that she would probably be gone with that, which is very possible. But, whatever works out best for her, that's what should be fine.
Sure.
What's the Pacers? We're getting closer and closer to the season beginning. As a matter of fact, we're 1 week away from media day for the Indiana Pacers. So 1 week before you got to get back to it, brother.
Yeah, no, I got to start doing actual work this week. So there's that. But yeah, no, I mean, we'll meet with the front office. I think Chad Buchanan will have a press conference on Tuesday, so we'll get a kind of a sense of how the front office views this offseason. Basically, get a better sense of that. Obviously, we haven't spoken to anybody in a press conference setting since Pascal Siakam's free agent signing. Basically, his free agent signing. Basically, that wasn't an extension, but it was a re-sign back in July. And so so it's been a while. We'll get a sense of just what the Nemhard and McConnell extensions mean to them, and just how they view this season coming up. And I think we'll get to talk to Rick Carlisle sometime this week. And then it gets really rolling on Monday. They start practice. Again, we get media day Monday. It's camp right after that, and a week later they're in preseason games. So it is not far away. We're 1 month from the opener, I believe, from the Pacers opener. I think the 22nd is when kind of the first games are, and I think the 23rd is when they open up with Detroit on the road, and then they get New York on the road after that, in a rematch, obviously the Eastern Conference semifinals. So they're getting right to it. Really, I thought it was really cool. They posted a lot of video from this. Pascal Siakam hosted a bunch of the guys. I think everybody went in Orlando last week, basically. So everybody went down to his court. I guess that's where he spends his off seasons. But he has just a gorgeous full length basketball court.
Imagine that.
Yeah, that's what 189 million will get you. And so that's how property value works. No, I mean, you could definitely see the difference. Pascal Siakam made a lot of money on his last contract. Buddy Hield has a court in his house that's a little bit tight, but they did practice there when they went down to Dallas. But Pascal has the whole deal. It's full length court. It's not not scrimping on the space at all over there. And so he had everybody down there, and they posted video, just some highlights and stuff like that. But I thought what was most interesting was some of the things that were said. He kind of used some kind of pre-practice speeches from some of the guys. None of the coaches are down there. They've got a couple player development guys helping out. I guess some trainers probably, just to make sure nobody gets hurt. But just some of the things that were said, I thought were really interesting about how they understand that it's going to be different for them this year, that they're going to come in having been a playoff team, having made the Eastern Conference Finals. Everybody's going to tell them, like, hey, you only made it that far because guys got hurt. If you had to play the Bucks with Giannis, you wouldn't have beat them. If you had to play the Knicks with OG and Randall, you wouldn't have beat them. So, no one really cares about your Eastern Conference Finals run. And that's kind of how they're motivating themselves, is that they know that's how everybody looks at them. I mean, I think that's an overstatement. I think they still beat the teams that were assembled, the Milwaukee and New York teams that were assembled. I think were still playoff teams. Beating the Bucks without Giannis isn't the same as beating the Bucks with Giannis. Beating the Knicks without OG, obviously he played the first couple games and then got hurt. Is not the same as beating them with him, but they still had to beat Damian Lillard and Jalen Brunson. It's not like they beat nobodies. Like it's not like they beat the Wizards and the Spurs or somebody like that. But still, I think that they're aware of that. They know that they are going to have a target. Certainly not they're not going to be the team everybody's gunning for, because that's Boston. But they are going to be a team that everybody remembers when they show up as a playoff team that they that they want to go after. So it's going to be interesting. I mean, I see there's still certainly a playoff caliber team. But they are motivated by the fact that they think that people don't believe in them. So I think that's an interesting factor for them going forward in the season. It seemed to keep them really pumped up, at least for last week in Orlando, and I imagine it'll be the case in camp as well.
Absolutely. We've Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star with us right now. We've got more coming up here at Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And before we get to that, what was I? Daggone it. Making the finals last year up against the Celtics, does that put, and kind of overachieving a little bit, I guess I think people would agree that was a little overachieving, but maybe not. But does that put more pressure on them this year to do the same or even beyond that?
I mean, like if you're them, you want to prove it's not a fluke. And I think it's an interesting case. I think they can be a better team and not get as far. I mean, I think you could have taken the other 7 teams in the East, shook them up in a bag. And if you've got different matchups, it's a different playoff. Because you got to remember, I think there was a 3-game difference between 2 and 7, I think, last year, in terms of the final standings. And so, I think if you have an awareness of how tight the East really is outside of Boston, because Boston won the East by 14 games, and from New York at 2 until I think Philly at 7, I think is a 3-game difference. So that was pretty wild. And I think people have a sense of that. And, Indy could win 50 this year and be the 3 and get bounced in the semis against a really good, number 2 seed. And they're technically a better team. But, they didn't get as far. So how are people going to look at them as having failed? I don't know. I won't personally, if they're a more consistent team, but just they get bounced because, somebody's a little bit better, or they just don't catch the breaks in the playoffs in the same way. But I think they know, if they don't make the playoffs, that would shock me first off. I just think they're part of that group. I think they're too talented not to get in. I think there is a sharp dividing line after 8. Basically you throw in, again, who was 2 to 7, that group, you throw Miami in there. And I think it's a significant fall off to the Bulls, the Hawks, the teams that were playing, second half play-in teams last year. I think they're just a lot better than those teams. And I'd be really shocked if they don't get in. But could they get in and lose in the first round? Absolutely. 100%. If they could get beat if they played Milwaukee again. They could get beat if they played Orlando or Cleveland. You just never know how it's going to set up. There's nothing, nothing at all binds them to be in the 6th seed again and have the brackets be what they were. All those teams can be totally jumbled up, and you get somebody else who's a tougher break. Could they lose Orlando in the first round? Yes. Could they lose to the Knicks in the first round? Yes. Could they lose to Philly in the first round? Yes. Milwaukee, Miami, probably not, but you don't know that. There's, it could happen in any of those cases. So I think, there is definitely pressure to show that they're not a fluke, but I think matching that pressure won't be that hard. It'll just be getting in the playoffs will be a grind. It's going to be an absolute grind in the East. It's just going to be so even. Again, I think they could get in there and make the same run. They could get in there and get bounced in the first round. And I don't think that would tell me that they're that much worse of a team if they don't make it as far. But obviously, I think the pressure on now is that these are their guys. This is what their team is going to be. And so they certainly just can't falter. And because then you have invested a whole lot of money in guys that you can't trust if it happens that way. I don't think it's going to happen that way. But you've not only got a 5-year, $240-something million deal on Halliburton, you've got a 4-year, $189 million deal on Siakam. You've still got $20 million into Turner. You've got a 3-year, $59 million deal on Nembhard. You've got 4 more years on McConnell. You've got 4 years, $60 million on Obi Toppin. You're invested in these guys. You need this group to be your group, and you are close to the luxury tax. So just as an organization, this can't not be a playoff team. Again, I can't imagine that it won't be, but it cannot take serious steps back because these are the guys you're invested in. If they don't make it as far as the playoffs, that's one thing, but they have to be good enough to be there, and you have to be able to look at this and say, okay, this is a team that's going to be there for a bunch of years.
Absolutely. I agree. Hey, we've got lots more coming up from the Hard Truth Studios on this Monday. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Dustin Dopirak with Indy Star with us. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revestco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at indyhomepros.com. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Studios here on this beautiful Monday. Jim Coyle, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, joined by Dustin Dopirak from the Indy Star, and your Nittany Lions put it on Kent State over the weekend, and Tom Allen's defense took care of his side 56-0 as Penn State finishes up their non-con schedule with a resounding victory. And they are one of about right now, with USC losing to Michigan, you've got Ohio State, you've got Penn State. Oregon is going to be up there, but I am still not sold on Oregon. Illinois with a big surprise. Illinois is surprising a lot of other people, but and that's where it kind of it's going to be fun to watch this season play out. But Penn State is probably going to be in the conversation no matter what when it comes to the end of who is going to be that second participant, not only for the Big Ten championship, but can the Big Ten get 4 entries into the college football playoffs? I think 3 goes without saying, but can they get that 4th one in will be tricky.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, it is going to be messy. I think we're seeing that already. You go from starting to think, maybe Michigan's tottering and maybe USC is the team, is another one of is a team that belongs in that discussion. And then they obviously go to Michigan and get beat, which was a really fun football game. And that doesn't certainly eliminate USC from contention. They can still catch a break later on. But, to mention, you mentioned Penn State, obviously they will play at USC on October 12th. I think that game's really going to determine a lot. But, again, you mentioned they've got Illinois coming up on Saturday at 7:30 in the late night NBC game. Again, Illinois is no joke. I mean, they've got a couple big wins there already. That Nebraska win being able to go in there and beat them was impressive. Nebraska is certainly a better team than we thought. That was definitely a fun football game to watch. And they've also got the win over Kansas. So I mean, Illinois is no joke. Penn State hasn't played anybody as good as Illinois yet. So we'll see what happens there. They've certainly handled everybody that they've played. Bowling Green obviously gave them a little bit of a game. But, they are going to get pushed a little bit. Fortunately for them, they don't have to play Michigan and Ohio State this year. And that's obviously certainly been the issue for them in the last several years is they're able to sort of crush everybody else. And then they get into Michigan and Ohio State and they can't win those games. So only having to win one of those two helps. But again, Illinois and USC are no joke. They've still got at Wisconsin on October 26th. That's not going to be an easy one. Everything else they should be able to handle, but you never know. So we'll see what they look like. But yeah, like to your point, it's going to be weird to see how it shakes out. I mean, does that Michigan win mean kind of the return of Michigan? Do we believe in them at this point? Certainly they could be a playoff team if the only team that they lose to is Texas. Can they still be a playoff team if they only lose to Texas and Ohio State, or they've got they do play Oregon? Is that going to be a play-in game effectively for a playoff? Basically for a playoff berth. Law can go in a bunch of different directions, and again, you're going to see so many of these teams play each other between the Big Ten and the SEC. There's going to be a lot of time for them to beat up on each other, and you see exactly how the committee is going to roll that. It's going to operate with that. How much? Basically how much credence are they going to give Big Ten and SEC teams? Are they going to let a 3-loss Big Ten or SEC team get in? Or is it just going to be 2 losses? Is that going to be the edge of it? How good are your losses going to have to be if you're a 2-loss team getting in? A lot of interesting questions there. I mean, there's a gauntlet coming up in the SEC. I mean, it's going to start getting absolutely nuts starting this week. Basically with Georgia and Alabama, coming up on Saturday night. So yeah, it's going to be like you're going to see a lot of teams beating up on each other, and you're going to see the whole field shuffle a lot in the next month. And so you're going to come out like November 1st and being like, okay, what do we do with this?
Exactly.
It is going to be wild when you get out of that last October weekend. It's going to be like, okay, but yeah, I mean, that was the point of some of this, I guess. I mean, I guess that's the thing. You got to throw out a lot of your priors, when you're really kind of contemplating what this is going to look like, because we have a longstanding sense of what does it take to get a national championship shot. And between, again, not necessarily having these superpower conferences and having a 12 and not having a 12-team playoff, like we've just never seen anything like this. So we're going to see a whole new guess as to how this is viewed. I mean, I think another thing is that there will be, I think, questions in terms of how much the Big Ten teams' powers played each other, but versus how much the SEC's did. I think that will, really change, I think, a lot of how the format comes down and who ends up getting in and who doesn't. And I guess that's just luck of the draw, but I don't know if the Big Ten has to make a point to make sure that its best teams play each other. I don't know how you do that without just saying, screw it, we're not going to have any kind of algorithm that sets this. We're just going to do what we think it takes to get as many teams to the playoffs as possible. And if that means weaker teams get a weaker schedule, we'll live with that. I don't know. I'm not sure how that's going to go long term or how they're going to view that. But it seems like, and I could be wrong about some of this, but the best SEC teams are playing each other more frequently than the best Big Ten teams are. So we'll see how that looks and how that goes. Again, I could be wrong about that. That's seat of the pants analysis on my end, and someone who's really been looking at this closer might say Dustin's an idiot in the chat, and that's fine. Again, I don't cover college football right now, so that I probably earned that one. But it again just seems to me with what's coming in the next month in the SEC, there's a lot going on in the Big Ten, but there's more going on in the SEC. So that might lead to the SEC getting more of its teams in, or it could not. It might be the other way around where they end up hurting each other. So we'll see how that shakes out, and it'll come again down to how the committee views all this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know who the second
best team is right now. I thought I did. I'm like, okay, I'm putting these teams here, and here. Well, and every week it changes. And so now I don't know who that, Ohio State is going to be number one until there's a reason for them not to be.
Sure.
And that reason has not been exposed as of right now. Who's number two? I don't know. And it's a guess. Is it Penn State? Very possibly. They're going to get their chance to find out. I know that you mentioned the Illinois game this week. That's going to be a tough game, but it is at home. So they get a tough game at home, fortunately for them. And Penn State could be one of those, very likely be one of those teams.
Sure.
And there are going to be a couple teams that get in with 2 losses. The loser of the Big Ten championship is probably going to have 2, potentially 3 losses, because I think there are going to be a ton of 2-loss teams in the Big Ten when it rolls around, and there's going to have to be a tiebreaker. But then again, there's also a good possibility that there are multiple 11-1 teams. And so that'll take care of itself in that regard. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. And the SEC, right? Last week they had 6 out of 7, the top 7 AP top 25 teams. So, they're loaded, but that starts shaking itself out when they start playing each other, and things will continue to shuffle. But I love that all of these different teams that we're seeing that are better. I did not expect Illinois to play like they're playing.
Sure.
I expected Michigan to play like they're playing, and they kind of stepped it up last week. I'm not sold on Oregon, like I said. I don't know. Penn State looks better, so it's going to be fun. This is a much more fun thing to go through. You don't have the same old Big Ten East and all that crap anymore. This is a blast, and it's going to be a blast for the remainder of the season, in my opinion.
Sure. No, it's going to be wild. I mean, it's still wild to even adjust to this. I mean, I think I said on Twitter, like I put on like a Cal San Diego State game at like 10:30 at night, and it was like at halftime they were like the ACC on ESPN. And I'm like, where am I? Like, what is this? It makes no sense. Like, what are we talking? It's like a 10:30 p.m. kickoff in Berkeley, California. Is an Atlantic Coast Conference game. Who are we, and what have we done with sanity? But it's still, I mean, like just the amount of things. Just again, adding Texas and Oklahoma to the SEC, and adding Oregon and USC and UCLA and Washington, but really for the purpose of this discussion, Oregon and USC to the Big Ten just require more big time games. It requires.
But how can they? That's hard. It's so hard to do because with the portal. Look at Indiana, for example. No one outside of Bloomington expected anything from Indiana, and they're still still viewing them at arm's length. But let me tell you, that's very, very dangerous for people to do, because this Indiana team is way better than you think. Look at UCLA, what they did with UCLA. UCLA goes to Death Valley and ties LSU at the half. 1 week later, this team is so much better than people are giving them credit for, and that's fine. It'll come out.
Right. Yeah. No. I mean, it will. I mean, I think I'm starting to believe again. I still have I've been wrong before.
PTSD.
Obviously. I hate using that term because it's so important. It is.
Yeah. Well, yes. We're for those that actually suffer from that, we do not mean to offend, or I don't mean to offend.
Right.
I was just using it as a.
Of course. I mean, it's a shorthand term for being like, oh my God, I've seen this before. But they are, like I'm looking at the standings right now, like they've outscored opponents 202-37. I mean, they've got one of the biggest margins of victory so far in the Big Ten. I mean, it's again, obviously that they've got 3 non-conference games on the board. One is an FCS team in Western Illinois, so they've got a chance to rack that up. But there's 42-13 over UCLA in there. I mean, it's hard to even fathom they won't be 6-0 and bowl eligible by October 19th. It's hard to see them.
Jim called that long before the season started.
Yeah. You did. So, it's hard to imagine them not handling Maryland and Northwestern the next couple of weeks. I mean, again, Nebraska is a different deal. I still don't know. I feel like I don't know a whole lot about Washington. Michigan State is a little bit dangerous, and you hit that, and there's some teeth to that part, and then you get Michigan and Ohio State in a row. But then you get a Purdue team that I'd be stunned if they don't handle easily. But yeah, I mean, you are really seeing the weapons come out. Curtis Rourke has been, is remarkably sharp. But the wide receiver talent, the running back talent, and my God, they have a legitimate offensive line. It's a real thing, and they're defending really well. So I mean, they've got all the pieces coming together. Again, like, I think there is going to be some level of, they'll get to November and have those Michigan Ohio State games in a row, and I at this point don't think they win those games, but yeah, there's no guarantee in any of the other ones. I mean, and I think and they will not be big underdogs against Nebraska if they're underdogs at all. And that is a game I think they can win. They can lose it. But they can, I would say right now they could lose to Nebraska, Washington, or Michigan State. But there's going to be plenty of opportunities for them to get to be bowl eligible at least, and go from there. So I mean, it's a sharp looking team, for sure. And so you don't know how they're gonna play into everything long term. What they look like, if you find yourself discussing them as a fringe playoff team, I don't know. I don't know if you got to sort of wait for a lot of water to go under the bridge between now and then. But, I mean, they could be, it's not crazy to think of them as a top 6, top 7, Big Ten team. Like you're not really that far out of a limb there, I don't think. I mean, at least having them as a top half Big Ten team isn't crazy at all. If you say, okay, it's Ohio State, it's Penn State, it's Michigan, it's USC, it's Oregon, and you say, okay, those are your top 5. I'm doing the math right, top 5. And say everybody else is kind of shaking in from there. Are they with the Illinois and the Nebraskas? They certainly look like they are right now. If you look at that as the next tier, and it might not end up that way. Some of those teams might break in a little bit higher. But if that's what that is that you kind of view those as the 5 powers set aside, and then it's like, okay, who's next? Indiana, there's little reason to believe that they're not part of that group that includes Illinois and Nebraska right now. So,
absolutely. And once they go 6-0, which I think that they will, and if they were to then beat Nebraska to go 7-0, there's no way they can be ignored at that point.
Sure.
By anybody, by any of the pundits, it doesn't matter. You cannot be ignored to be 7-0 as a Big Ten member with, right. You would then be 4-0 in Big Ten play. It just, and the records that will continue, that would continue to fall along that way that have not been done. To set all of those records in one season is just going to be mind-boggling, and not that it's given, but it is very possible. Indiana, I've said, of their final 8 games, they're going to be favored in 7 of them.
Of their final 8?
Of their final 8 games, and that includes at Michigan State. I think that they will be favored there. The only game I don't see them favored, of course, is at Ohio State. But other than that, you've got Maryland at home, Northwestern on the road, Nebraska at home, Washington at home. You've got to go to Michigan State, which is going to be a tough game. And then you have Michigan at home. And I think that at that time, Indiana will be favored over Michigan at home. Now, that's just me. And
bold. Put that one on the mark. Mark that down.
Bold, very bold.
I don't think they're going to be favored against Michigan. I don't. I could see where you were going with that. I mean, I don't think you were crazy to think that last week.
Michigan did that win meant a lot that they got over USC.
Beating USC means a lot. I mean, they can.
But can they continue going by throwing for a total of 33 yards a game, which is what they did against USC? It worked against USC. Yes.
Yeah. Maybe they can. I mean,
maybe is a great answer, Dustin. It's a great answer. I'm telling you.
Is. I'm not going to say no, they can't, because they just beat USC that way. So they can. And so, I mean, you're going to see them see if they get some momentum. They obviously get Minnesota and Washington the next 2 weeks. I think those are games they should be able to win. Illinois will be a game that is dangerous for them on October 19th, and they'll certainly play a rivalry game against Michigan State before they get Oregon. And Indiana does benefit from the fact that Michigan will be, playing them right after they play Oregon. So they will be, one way or the other, honed in on that game. And if they get beat, they'll be wounded. If they don't get beat, they'll be riding high on themselves. That's probably, its next biggest game is Oregon. And that's right before Indiana. So they'll get tested a couple more times. And so you could see if they lose to Illinois and Oregon, you might see them get favored. It's not crazy to imagine Indiana be favored in that game. I'm not going to go there right now just because, again, they just beat USC. So.
And you shouldn't. That's why I know that I'm stepping out on a limb and I'm being bold and crazy, but I want to shake it up, baby.
You're allowed to be. You're allowed to be. Hey, it's Indiana's 4-0, man. Hope springs eternal. So
gotta have some fun with it. Dustin Dopirak, what is up next for you? I know that you're about to get back to work, and people need to be not only following you and being a subscriber to the Indy Star to keep up with your content for the Pacers.
Yeah, I'm down to about 26 more hours of laziness, and no, so that'll be, like I said, tomorrow we're going to talk to the front office, so we'll see everything that comes out of there, not only just their big picture idea, but obviously, find out, what's their views on Miles Turner. Obviously, they could not extend him because he had a 2-year deal, but they can certainly re-sign him in the offseason, see if they're willing to commit to what their plans are with him. And everybody else, just kind of get a better sense of, Benedict Mathurin, how they view the next steps with some of their young guys, how the degree to which they feel like they have their core. So we're going to get Chad Buchanan talking about that tomorrow and should see everything that comes out of that. And again, I think we're supposed to talk to Rick Carlisle sometime later this week. And then Monday, again, it gets really rolling. So, everybody, I'm presuming everybody's back in town. They were in Orlando last week. But I know Halliburton, McConnell, and a couple other guys were at the Colts game yesterday. So they're probably trickling into Indy and starting to do at least some workouts on their own in the city now. And just so you sort of see everybody filing and get ready. And then next week starts going. And so, get to see how this team shapes out. Obviously, it's a group that's pretty well defined already. You don't have the same kind of position battles you had last year, but you have a group that's eager to prove that, that again, last year wasn't a fluke and they're good enough to be part of that, top tier in the Eastern Conference. So it, again, gets rolling next week. And so you'll be following it all at Dustin Dopirak at Twitter and at IndyStar.com. You check out all our stuff and keep following. Hey, Indiana Fever are still a playoff team. So keep on following Chloe Peterson throughout all this. And obviously everybody's else are Zach Osterman on IU, Joel and Nate on the Colts, Nathan Baird and Sam King on Purdue, Michael Newziliak also on IU. So I'll check us out for all of that. And, Greg Doyle writing columns on all of it. So it's it is the time of year where everything is rolling in Indiana sports. So come check all this out.
And we appreciate you, brother, and look forward to seeing you again next week.
Absolutely. Sounds good, Jim.
Thank you, sir. Dustin Dopirak with the Indy Star joining us here as he does each and every Monday. We've got more coming up. Back with it here from the Hard Truth Studios on this Hard Truth Monday right after this.
Segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling Company and Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Monday, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. Make sure you stop by the Hard Truth Distilling Company over in Nashville, Indiana. Especially now, the heart of beautiful Brown County, Indiana. Wow, beautiful time of year to be there. Everybody, I saw some people jumping up on my expectations for what I think this season can be like for Indiana football, and it is just that. Brian thinks I'm just completely off the rails, and that's fine. If what I don't know if you're basing it on last year, last month, what is it? I don't care what happened with Indiana football last year. I don't care what happened with Indiana football 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10. I don't care. None of that matters to me, because guess what? That was not Indiana. That was not a program built by Kurt Signetti. It was not a program built during the portal area. It was not it's just different. All things are different. And if you're not around the team, if you're not covering the team, you're not going to see it, because you're basing it only off of your memories of the past, which is fine. People can do that. I'm not judging anyone else or saying anyone should believe me, because, hey, who am I? No one. But I'm telling you, now I think the bottom for this team is 9-3. That is, to me, is becoming the worst case scenario, because I completely expect them to be 6-0 after their first 6 games, and so you'll have that. And originally I thought 7-5 was the bottom, but that was being safe. There's no way that if they start 6-0, that they're going to win only 1 out of their final 6 games. You've got to look at it in a way of which you're studying everything and all the components. You can't just look at it and go, well, it's Indiana football, so I'm going to say this. No, You have to look at all of the ingredients. And that is where all of my opinions are coming from. The ingredients and how and when those ingredients are put in. The schedule itself, how it laid out, the teams they played along the way. The schedule gets tougher as it goes. Well, that's not been the case a lot of the time. I mean, how many times did Indiana have to start a season playing against a Big Ten team? How many times did Indiana have to start a season against Ohio State in the last 7 years? A bunch. Too much. 5 out of 7 seasons they started against a Big Ten opponent. That's crap. This is how you start a season. This is how you build a program. And I would be so shocked if Indiana is not 6-0 after their first 6 games. I don't need to take one game at a time. I'm talking about what I think this program can be. I don't need to sit here and talk about what it's going to be like against Maryland this week alone. We'll talk about Maryland plenty. But Nebraska is going to be a tough game. There's no doubt. And then Washington is going to be a tough game. But I don't think that Washington is a team that's going to come in and beat Indiana. Indiana would have to beat itself, which is very possible. Things happen. Injuries happen. Turnovers can possibly happen. Even though Indiana has not had a turnover yet, they're not going to go the entire season without turning the ball over. And unfortunately, it could come at the most inopportune time. You don't know. You can't predict that. But I also am not going to predict things based on what hasn't happened. That's the only thing that can change what I'm thinking, is if something like that were to happen. Nebraska is going to be a tough game, but Indiana will be favored in that game. Washington's going to be a tough game, but Indiana will be favored in that game. Now, when they go to Michigan State, whether they're favored or not is going to depend on what Michigan State does between now and then. Not what Indiana does, because I expect Indiana to win between now and then. Just my thoughts because this team is going to get better. Indiana is not playing at the level where they're going to be at. They're going to continue to get better also, and they've been pretty damn good. Think about these stats that they're putting up. I said it earlier. Of their 38 total drives on this season, they've scored 28 times. Go back and look at last year. That's not even in the same universe. But not only that, we've talked about, they're averaging 50 points a game. Doesn't matter who they played. They put up the numbers. UCLA, they went out there and just decimated a team that just went to LSU in Baton Rouge and was tied with the Tigers at half. But Indiana has done the same thing against everybody they've played. Their defense has done the same thing. It bends a little bit in the first half, but they make incredible adjustments at the half, and they have shut every opponent down. They're giving up just over 1 point per game in the second half. 1. I don't care who you're playing. 1 point per game. Most of the time, if a team is going to give up points, it's going to be in the second half. When you're tired or you're using maybe a second string players, whatever the case. Not happening with Indiana. They're taking it to the bitter end. And I think that's going to continue. Every game the same way. It's just going to be a blast. I'm just excited about the Big Ten season in and of itself. All of these teams. Because it's still, there's so much unknown. That second spot. It is rare that we don't know that, Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State are the 3 best teams in the league. That's not the case this year. And you've got the 4 new teams, 2 of which are part of that equation, I'm just not sold on Oregon yet. I know that with, I don't care about rankings right now. Rankings are based on baloney. Notre Dame was a top 10 team. Florida State, for gosh sakes, was a top 10 team to start the season. Well, they're awful. So none of that matters to me. You've got a Boise State team, or a Boise State team who has a loss on their record already. Yet they're ranked in the top 25 at number 25. Texas A&M has a loss. They're ranked. That Kansas State team that I just talked about, now 3-1, was what? How big of a favorite did I say they were? And they just got destroyed. Ranked in the top 25. Why? Shouldn't be there. But that'll change. Indiana, 1 week away from being in the top 25, as they sit in the 27th slot right now behind Washington State, which Washington State probably deserves to be in there right now too. Boise State does not. How in the hell you rank a Boise State team with a loss already, and Kansas State, who just got embarrassed? I mean, they dropped 10 spots in the poll, but I don't care. It's not enough. You don't belong in the top 25. That's not a top 25 team. A top 25 team does not get embarrassed like that at home by a marginal team. Just my thought. But hey, man, cannot thank everybody enough. Appreciate you so much. Looking forward to being back tomorrow again. Big thanks to Greg Rakestraw, Don Fischer, and Dustin Dopirak. Most importantly, each and every one of you. Thanks to Skylar as well. We're back tomorrow to do it again from the Hard Truth Studios. Until then, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.